Why don't we get started? Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Springfield City Councilor Victor Davila, and I'm coming to order the subcommittee meeting of the General Government. The time is now 1:39. And today we are going to be discussing on the agenda a proposal to increase the amended chapter 73, article 2 of the revised ordinances of City of Springfield by deleting article 2, section 73-8A and inserting a new article 2, section 73-8A. Basically meaning that we are looking to extend the amount of time that new hires have once they're hired here in the City of Springfield to move into the city. Here in the chambers, we have Councilor Allen, who is part of the committee. Welcome, Councilor Allen. We have also Councilor Maria Perez. Thank you for joining us. And remotely, we have committee member, Councilor Katie Walsh. Good afternoon, Councilor. Here in the chambers, we're joined by a good group of people. Why don't we go around so we introduce everybody for the people at home? Let's start with Bill.
Bill Mahoney, I'm the HR Labor Relations Director.
Pete Krupczak with Springfield Parks.
Tom Ash, Parks Department. Chris Signoli, DPW Director.
Elaine Julius, Assistant HR Director. Louis Munier, Senior HR Journalist.
Judith Kroll, CDI Officer.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. And so this agenda item was first heard back in December 16th was the last time we met. We passed first step. And it was sent to committee for review for this. There has been some questions by some of the councilors on one of the amendments that was made into this was to put in a sunset amendment, which was made by Councilor Regato. And the amendment, Solicitor, do you remember that was that to sunset on 2020? Anybody remembers what the actual clause was? Because I don't see it here.
The sunset language?
Yeah,
Um,
it was 20.
I think he was concerned about people being fired.
Uh,
well, it was a 3-year, I thought he was looking for something for sunset.
yeah. Because can you ask Sean to put out the actual the first part of the agenda where it says where the sunset language is?
The original language.
Yeah, where the sunset clause is. It was 3 years, but the way that it read, it will be retroactive to September 1st of 2023. And it will be, I apologize, I don't have the other part in front of me. But it was 2025.
I can't remember, Mr. Chairman, I just remember that I think what he wanted to do is extend it for a year or two. And then sunset it so that if there was a pressing enough issue that the amendments that are being proposed would have to be reintroduced before the council for approval or rejection. So when we say sunset, we're really, question is go back to old rules unless the council decides otherwise. And I thought it was going to be for January 1 of 2026.
26 rings in my bell too, but
So according to the last minutes, it was I that recommended at the time to change to 24 months instead of 12 months.
That's a language we're looking to change. Also. Then on the floor, Councilor Delgado made a proposed amendment. I think that's what you're referencing, right, Mr. Chairman?
yeah,
Can't
and it
remember.
passed. And it passed. Sean, is Sean looking at?
Yeah.
The reason I'm talking about this, I want to make sure, unfortunately, Councilor Delgado is not here. But I want to make sure that we get the language straight because I know it passed. But it was, well, then while this, city council staff looks into it. So I open the floor. Ash, do you want to start? Do you want to start us? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman and councilors. As you already stated, this has been going on, for several months now, and I think the genesis of it is, for me, it was twofold. First part was that I think there's a place for amendment here, given what the current housing situation is, not just here in Springfield, but several other places, really all around the country, but so I think that people who have proven that they're trying to get obtain a residence in Springfield are having difficult time doing it. And as I stated all along, in part, this is, self-serving for me in a way, because this particular employee who I would lose has been a tremendous asset to the department, doing great work at one of our golf courses, which are really just gems, I think, in my estimation, in the city. So again, that part of it's self-serving, but I do think there's a place for an amendment to provide some comfort for other employees who are looking to do the same thing, that are actively trying to find a residence, but are having a difficult time to do so.
Okay, thank you, Director Ash. Anybody else? Chris, you look like you'd like to speak.
Yeah, a quick question that I just wanted to make sure for everybody, in the language that it talks about going retroactive to September 1st, that would mean that any employee that had a date after September 1st to move into the city would be extended an additional year. Okay, that's what I just wanted to make sure. I have 2 employees that I will be losing April 1st.
This year?
Yep. I've lost 4 people in the last 5 months to Springfield Water and Sewer.
If you excuse me for a quick second, Chris, you have one.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Chris. So you
I'm gonna
have,
be losing 2 employees in April. One of them has already told us that he's putting in his resignation.
do you know why?
Because he's can't afford to move to the city of Springfield. It's that simple. He has a hoisting license, so I will be down to 2 employees with hoisting licenses.
What's the whole thing?
Hoisting license, those are the employees that load sand, salt, materials into trucks. I need to have 3, and I will be down to 2.
Mhm.
I've lost 4 employees in the last 6 months to water and sewer. Water and sewer had a pretty good bump in their pay, but they have no residency requirement whatsoever. So I know I'm gonna be losing. One of the employees just said, I can't do it, so he's most likely gonna be resigning sometime in the next few weeks once he finds a job. So I have always been an advocate that I think residency stinks. Right now, trying to find employees is impossible, and trying to find employees who are employed under me, who are making $45,000 a year, trying to get them to move to the city of Springfield or anywhere for a $250,000 house at 7% interest is not gonna happen anywhere in the city of Springfield. So all I've done, my last 4 hires, I've stolen from other departments. And that's all that we've been doing. I just hired somebody from planning, I hired somebody from code, and we're all in the same boat right now. So the list of employees that now apply for jobs is extremely small. And I am stuck with civil service for my employees, solid waste and operations. So that creates a whole other barrier that we have to deal with on our side. So that's where I am. I have 2 employees. They're gonna have an issue in early April that I know I'm most likely gonna be losing one of them.
Thank you, Chris. So you have 2 employees that you will be losing come April 1st. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry, what's your name? That's okay.
I'm Judith Cole.
And what
The
department?
mayor's chief diversity officer.
Okay, is there anything you want to say or?
Actually,
anybody?
after I obtained this role, one of the things I thought about addressing was the a residency requirement. I really wish the council would consider first preference for Springfield.
First preference?
Yes.
What do you mean?
What I mean is, if you have a resume from Chicopee and you have a resume from Springfield, and Springfield has the better resume, choose that.
Mhm.
And not, do all this 2-year, 3-year. If Signoli is saying what he's saying, even in 2 years, how is the person gonna be able to move here? So what is a good solution for the whole city and our departments that have different needs? You can have, administrative people. DPW has like specialties with losing people to water and sewer. I would like to consider a first preference, but the 2-year thing, I would be in agreement with if we cannot consider a first preference. Thank you.
Thank you, Cromwell. I want to be sure that I'm getting Cromwell.
Crowell, like a crow in a well.
Cromwell, thank you, Ms. Cromwell. So basically, if I understand what you're saying correctly, Ms. Cromwell, you're suggesting first preference, meaning that somebody who has a resume, they will have first preference. Right?
Yeah, if the Springfield resume meets all the requirements, that would
You're
be
gonna be, assuming that you.
the first preference.
Okay, let me place devil advocate right now. I think, Mahoney, isn't that usually what we do?
For our, for instance, for police and fire, we have a preference for police officers and firefighters as they're coming in. Those are civil service tests. And the list is put together with Springfield residents on top. And then below that are non-residents. So you need to get through all the Springfield residents before you get to the non-residents. So we're meeting what Ms. Crowell says with respect to our two biggest departments on the city side of government, police and fire. And that's worked well for us. There are some changes coming to civil service, but we'll deal with those down the road. But there is we certainly have a history with preference for the Springfield residents.
It's good.
Take one.
So. I just kind of, it talks about sunset.
We would want clarification in human resources with respect to the amendment, and that would be, if it was 24 months and it was the sunset and in 26 or 27, let's just say 27, 2 years down the road, we hired somebody right near the end of the sunset provision. I'm assuming that person would still have 24 months to get in, so they'd have time to get in. They wouldn't be reverting back to the 12
I'm
months.
sorry.
So if you amend this to say you've got 24 months to move in, but you're going to sunset that benefit, that right, then I would want to make sure that we understand in human resources, because we track this every month. Every month, we look at everybody that we hire.
Mhm.
So that if we hire somebody, let's say this thing's going to sunset on June 30th of 27. We want to know that if we hired somebody on June 1st of 27, that they have 24 months to move in, because that's what we're going to tell them unless we hear otherwise from the council, that you've got 2 months. So even though that the faucet gets shut off on June 30th and on July 1, those new hires would get 12 months. The person that we hire on June 1st of 2027, we get 24 months. We just want to make sure that we understand so that we're doing it correctly.
Would you like to comment, Steve?
No, I'm a little confused. Are you saying you're concerned about them trying to get 2 bites of the apple for the extension?
Well, no, I just want to make sure that the way I understand it is the council's going to say you have 24 months to move in, but that's going to stop at a date certain.
Yes.
And right before that date certain, if I hire somebody, does that person get 24 months to move in? Or because we have a date certain stop, is there going to be some kind of twist on this?
No, so the way I would interpret that is, we go back to the old rule.
Mhm.
So if this would say, would sunset on December 30th,
Mhm.
and you hire somebody on December 1st, And if the council does not take action to extend these amendments, then it reverts back to the existing rule that's now on the books, meaning that that person who you hired in December 1st would only have 12 months to establish residency within the city.
So the problem as I see with that is we're telling people when we hire them, what their obligation is to move in. And if we don't know what the council's going to do, or initially we're gonna, we're gonna be in a worse position to say, you might have 24 months and you might have 12 months. You'll find out on December 31st. We're gonna have a hard time recruiting people into that role. So I would ask the council to, if you're going to go down the path, then tell us that it's gonna be, look at, up until a date certain, those people are all gonna get 24 months to get in here. So that we can actually do some real recruiting, and not be hamstrung.
Okay, if I may, we actually, yeah, I want everybody to make, because this is a very important point. So we did get the language, so I'm gonna read the amendment to the amendment that the staff just provided us. And it reads, the amendment listed above shall be subject to a 3-year sunset clause, so that at the end of a 3-year from the effective date of this amendment, the requirement for employment listed on section 73A.8A shall revert back to 12 months for the date of the start of employment. So it's a 3-year sunset clause. So it's 3 years, right? Going back to September 1st of 2023. Do you agree with that, Solicitor?
Yes, so it would be effective if the council were to adopt it, let's just say today. It's effective the date upon passage, meaning if it's voted on by the council, signed by the mayor, it takes effect, would be technically tomorrow. Say February 4th, 3 years from now is the effective date, so it'd be February 4th of 2028. If the council takes no action from now till the 28th, until February 4th of 2028, then the language reverts back to the 1-year residency.
Okay.
So I think what Councilor Delgado was, I think he was trying to, because of there being some opposition, he was trying to compromise to say, let the council have to take an affirmative vote to extend this in 3 years if needed.
But to answer Director Mahoney's question, as I understand it.
So we would do 12 months, anyone hired on February 4th, 27 or later, we would just tell them they've got 12 months to get in, knowing that this was gonna sunset.
If we don't take action.
I think would that be consistent with what you're thinking, Steve?
I think you would almost have to tell somebody, if they're a year out from this being sunsetted, now you're in that dilemma of saying, you technically have 2 years to move in, but the city council would have to take effective action upon it, and then you would have to, because I don't know how else you.
Right, you'd even have to go back further because.
We can't presume what the council will do or not do, so
Right.
you really do have to explain the 2 year versus 1 year.
Yeah, I think we can figure it out. I'm working it through now. Yeah, I can figure that out.
But at least, Solicitor, at least this will solve the immediate problem of Director Ash and Director Chris and many others throughout the city, that they keep their guys and the ladies that they need in the department for now.
Are you asking me to be truthful on that question?
I sure hope so. Barring any other issues.
I would say it would alleviate the immediate need.
I like the word
But I will
alleviate.
tell you, Mr. Chairman, that not a day goes by that residency is not raised on an employment matter here in the city.
Yeah,
And I continue to struggle with my department. I posted for a first associate solicitor, which is a higher level attorney, somebody who can be paid between 100 and 142, and then a third associate solicitor who and those are the new entries. Trying to repopulate the office that I'm down quite a few attorneys. And we really didn't get one qualified candidate on the first go around.
Okay,
So it just continues to be, I think, now, I think we all think it has something to do with residency because the city can pay quite well in a lot of, especially in the law department, we pay quite well compared to other communities, but we just have a hard time getting qualified candidates to once they hear residency, it's a chilling effect that you can't be underestimated.
I just wanna, I'm gonna give the floor to second to Director Ash, but Solicitor, I was recently having a conversation yesterday. And we were talking about the historical planning position. And it was my understanding that, there was one person, but moving into the city was a no-go. And that historical position, which has been talked about for a while now, is a niche, is a very particular set of skills. Because what we have now is somebody who pretty much does, God bless them, clerical duties, but we do need that specialized person. And so just to give an example of what you're saying, that it appears to me that there's niche positions throughout the city, which we need to start relooking. And again, this is the beginning of a bigger conversation. I am not looking to overhaul the residency as a whole right now, but as a looking to overhaul it, but I am sensitive that if the department heads tells me, Chris and Tom come to me and say, I have a guy that I need. Well, you need a guy. I'm not the department head, I'm a counselor. You know, you need a guy, you need a guy. At least that's how simple it is. No, it opens up the question, which is a fair point about nepotism. That wouldn't happen here in the city, of course, and other things, but we need the institutional knowledge in our city. So, Director Ash.
Just quickly, excuse me, a couple of things. I think some departments are greater impacted than others. I think certainly law department and DPW are probably more than Parks Department because there's more specialized positions within. So they're definitely feeling it. I know it, talking to both Chris and Steve, but with regards to the sunset clause, it seems to me that's, although well-intentioned, it seems to me that's causing more confusion or could create more confusion as opposed to the council just saying 3 years from now, let's relook at this. If it's not working, then you can make another amendment or do away with it, or keep it going if it is working. But I think the sunset, as Bill's kind of pointed out, you're going to do a confusing area here 2 years from now when you're hiring somebody. My advice would be, to just address it again in a couple of years as the council as a whole.
Fair point. I'm going to ask one more question with Mahoney, then I'll turn it over to the councilors. Before I go on, I want to say that Captain Piedmonte contacted me. He apologizes that he's not able to join us, but he had a sudden medical issue to attend. And we pray that he's going to be okay. And we wish him our best and our love to Captain Piedmonte. I do see online, I have somebody with iPhone. Can you identify yourself? That's all it says, iPhone. If you could please identify yourself. Can you hear me, iPhone?
Is that me?
Oh, it's
Tracy?
okay,
Yeah.
hi.
It says iPhone? Oh, that's odd. Okay.
That's okay.
All right.
Yeah, my hand is also raised.
Yeah,
No.
it's-
Yeah, I was just identifying myself, Counselor. I wasn't gonna take your spot. All right.
Recognize Councilor Whitfield who are joining us. But Dr. Mahoney, do you have an accounting of how many people throughout the city are coming up against this deadline of 1 year from the time of employment?
Well, we can tell you that we ran some statistics this morning. And in 2022, 23% of our hires were not city residents. So 77% were city residents, 23% were not. 30 moved, and we terminated 10 that year, whether they resigned or whether they were terminated. Now the termination could have been for performance issue, or it could have been something else, or it could have been residency related. We haven't had many residency terminations, but we have terminated folks for being non-compliant with residency. That does happen. The following year was 21%.
Just 2023?
Yeah, 23, we had 21% of our new hires were non-residents, 29% in 24. And again, we're still in the process with some of the 20.
Did you say 19% in 24?
29. Yeah.
So that's a big bump.
We're still in that measuring that year.
Okay. Director, quick question. Can you explain why do we have such an 8-point increase between 23 and 24 of new hires being non-residents?
I don't have a direct answer for that. I don't know if anyone else does on my team, but there's a multitude of reasons why, and sometimes we aren't getting, the qualified applicants that we would like from the city. As one of the directors was talking about, some of our positions are extremely specialized, whether it's in the law department or whether it's in HHS, whether it's a lead arborist in the park department. You can't just have anybody do that job.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some of our jobs are very, very
Specific. Thank you, Director. All right, let me turn it over to my colleagues. If you allow me, I'm going to take my prerogative and start with the councilors online and then followed by the ones in chambers. Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What I remember about that meeting that we had in December regarding this issue is that there were, I believe, 2 employees who were in danger of being immediately fired when we were discussing this issue. And I'm curious to know what happened with those employees.
I can speak to one of them. We commenced the Residency Compliance Commission hearing with one of the employees. I think there was an issue with the employee as far as the date he was supposed to appear.
Right.
So that is still on the Residency Compliance Commission's hearing. We'll commence that, I think, in February. It should be going forward unless something happens before then.
Well, I've always been a strong supporter of residency. I still am, but I think we can all acknowledge that maybe we need to be a little more lenient in helping people find homes in the city of Springfield. I don't know, why can't we do it without the look back clause? That seems to be kind of what I'm picking up from people in the meeting. That we'd be better off without that sunset clause. Just my feeling.
Councilor Walsh?
Yeah. Did you hear me? Yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, Councilor Whitfield.
I am struggling with this, because I'm on the phone, I'm usually on the computer, but, thank you for the opportunity. Came a little bit late, but I get the gist of what the conversation is about. And one thing I keep hearing is like, change the ordinance, don't change the ordinance, change it. I am a strong proponent of residency myself, but I think that there are creative ways that we can look to getting people ready for these positions, like maybe training programs, internships, some type of paid incentive. So if you work in the department and you want to grow into being a planner, you probably like get some training. There's a pathway, create pathways to people moving into these roles. There are creative ways that we can get people there that live in the city of Springfield that may want a different opportunity. This isn't the only way to get it done. But if we want to stick to residency, I'm not saying this is an immediate fix, but we need to look at long-term, because we'll be right back here again if we don't start training up our own individuals that live in the city of Springfield for these roles. And so I think that we need to look at those creative pathways to get people ready to be into these roles and other roles that require specific skill sets. Everything can be learned. Just because we don't have the skill set right now doesn't mean we can't train folks to have it. And so creating a pathway to get people there and an incentivized pathway may be an avenue that we can look at. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Before turning it over to the councilors on the chambers, Ms. Cromwell, you your comments just feel like reading in the back of my head. Mahoney, if I may, I just want to be clear. If we have two people, same qualifications, they're both identical. But then, non-resident, we take the resident.
Yep.
And that is written in stone
Well,
somewhere, where's
no, well,
that?
it's for, as I said before, our largest departments, the biggest groups that we hire, police and fire, yes, there's a preference on those civil service lists.
Aside from that,
Okay, aside from that, we're looking at all candidates, but we actually ask on the application, are you a city of Springfield resident?
That's right.
And if not, will you move in? And if they answer that question, no, either of those questions, no, we're looking at the Springfield resident. That's what we're looking at. Because we know they're not. Now, if the Springfield residents aren't qualified and we have an unqualified non-resident, then you're gonna see a waiver from us.
right, but
That's
if,
fine.
again, if they're both identical, same picture.
Yeah, but,
qualification, what I'm saying is, we will take the resident, but is that a policy somewhere? Where can I go back?
No, I'm not saying it is a policy. I'm saying if we're looking at a resident and non-resident, and the non-resident says, I will move in within the year, they're on the same level playing field as the resident. If they're saying, I won't move in, we're looking at the resident. If the resident's not qualified, then we go to the non-residents and we say, if you're not gonna move in, we can go through the waiver process. But the waiver that I brought up today to the council, we posted, I think, 8 times.
I get that. I'm sorry, I hear you, but I'm not quite sure that I still understand you now. I'm talking about two people, same resume. If you close your eyes, you could pick either one of them, or any one of them. They're both equally as qualified.
First of all, Councilor, there's no such thing as that. I'll just tell you, that does not exist.
Let me start reaching the pie in the sky, but I'm
No,
just.
but because we have a residency, we have to acknowledge that. So if they put, even if they put, yes, I'll move in a year. And they're more qualified, we're gonna take that person. But you also have to remember, if someone says yes, and then they can't move here. Now, what if that person files unemployment? Who pays for that? We pay for that. So. So the person who doesn't move, they said, hey, I said I was gonna move in, I'm so sorry, I can't find a place, can't get a job right now, I'm filing for unemployment.
We're gonna pay for it.
I'm sorry, are you saying, I will get to you guys in a second, are you saying that if somebody doesn't move into the city after they said they would, and they're terminated, they got unemployment?
Yeah, more likely than not, they'll collect.
Yeah, I think we have one in unemployment case for a residency matter.
You should say we lose all those cases.
Yes.
So I'm
Yes.
just saying, that's the other caveat, like, I understand the focus on residency. And so to your question, I think what Penny Mahoney is saying is, if we have two people and the person says, no, I'm not gonna move in, we're gonna take the Springfield person. But if we have two people and someone says, I'll move here in a year, and they're more qualified than the Springfield person, we're gonna take that person because we're gonna bank on their truthfulness that they'll move here in a year. But if they don't, and let's say they don't get a job somewhere, we have to pay that unemployment.
The other thing I wanted to add, Counselor, I'm sorry, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong. If there is an advertisement today for a position and there are two people, one with the one who lives in the city and one who doesn't, I can't pick the person who's not in the city. We have to re-advertise. Again,
Exactly.
it's not just, hey, there's two people here.
That's
If
right.
one of them is qualified and is in the city, we almost, in a lot of cases, can't even look at the non-resident.
You're right.
Unless it's something very crazy or specific to a person.
Wait,
But I think what you're asking is, right now, if there are two applications for the same job, and they're put in front of Bill Mahoney, and if they really are an orange, and they look exactly identical, you interview them and and the interview team says, geez, these are two great candidates, but I don't know. But if we change the policy to being residency preferred, we would automatically give that, if you have language by the city council that says residency is preferred for each hiring position, then the interview team would really be compelled to hire the resident over the non-resident. But what I think what Attorney Mahoney is saying to you is that it's almost impossible to really
Yeah.
play out in real life.
Yeah, that was a good answer. Mahoney, so you said we have terminated 10 people. Is that 10 people since 2022 or is that 10 people since when?
That would be that fiscal year,
Oh, but that's for our regulations. We don't,
Yeah.
it's not just for residency.
no, it's some for residency for non-compliance. It could also be for performance
Yeah.
issues.
So who's here from the residency commission?
Me,
Okay,
I'm the co-chair.
good. Will you be able to tell Ms. Cromwell how many people we have terminated specifically for residents?
No, I cannot tell you that.
Would you be able to get that information to me?
I can try to, sure.
Okay. Yeah. And if you could send it to the staff and then.
I sure will.
Thank you, Ms. Cromwell. Mr. Mahoney, I was just thinking the financial impact to the city. That we might be bleeding money out with unemployment. Indirectly that's what I was ultimately thinking, how much money are we quote unquote bleeding out by paying unemployment?
Our unemployment-
Specifically on the residency issue, if they get terminated.
I think the maximum exposure on an unemployment claim right now is about $26,000. I haven't
A
checked
year?
for
For a
a
person?
year. It would be for one person for 1 year. That would be what you would get. I don't think it's higher than that. You guys know the total, is it 26,000 now?
Roughly, yeah.
Not any significant amount of money.
Nope.
Not a lot, but not insignificant. All right, Councilors and Chambers, Councilor Perez, followed by Councilor.
So I have to echo what my colleague Kate Walsh said on the sunset law. I think it will create more confusion. The other thing, anyone have looked at other cities in town, what are, and when the term of policy when it comes to residency?
Yeah, I had sent a document looking at all the salaries for surrounding communities, and who does and doesn't have residency.
And what happened, the outcome
I'd have to pull it up.
Yeah, she sent it earlier, like, she sent it a while.
I know one of the things that Ms. Julius always mentions is city of Chicopee. You know, that they don't have a residency requirement and, you know, so we're competing for the same talent pool. And I'll tell you just anecdotally, I was doing recruiting at Westfield State College and I'm doing my spiel and I'm trying to get people to apply. And the guy next to me, who I was getting along with very well, would look at all my candidates and say, and we don't have a resident requirement over here. He would say it every single time, and I just give him a dirty look every single time.
Yeah.
So
Is the salary structure similar to Chicopee and
No, they're less than us.
They're less, right?
Yeah, so we lose, the bulk of people that we lose to other municipalities is Chicopee, and they're willing to take the cut.
You're willing to take the cut,
Yep.
I have to say
get
that,
out of residency.
that just hurt me, what you just said. It
That's
really
true.
deeply in my heart, that somebody's willing to get paid cut not to live in a great city.
And I will say, like, as far as our data speaking, it's hard to really capture who is leaving due to residency. You know, we have a lot of people that put whatever reason on a resignation letter. And then when I conduct an exit interview with them, they all mention residency. And that's even people that are residents. Like, we have people that live in Springfield that are still resigning and leaving because of residency.
I can't believe that's the only reason.
Well, just, and, well, water and
Chris, if you.
I'm sorry, I'm
My
sorry.
apologies, Council.
the second part
sorry,
of it.
Chris.
So when it comes to the 2 years, let's say we put this in an ordinance or policy, so if I'm hired right now, I've been clocking back. So could we put some language in this, you know, correct me, after they hire the person, the clock start clicking rather than going back?
For any new hire, it starts right now. So you
Okay.
get 2 years.
Okay,
For anybody who
Only this one.
was
Only
hired
this.
from September 23rd, 2023, let's say till now, they were supposed to be given a year to move in. Now they'll all be given 2 years to move in.
okay.
So, and we're going back, I know that caused confusion, but that was really to try to preserve a couple employees that we were worried about losing. So that's why the back to September 1 of 2023. If we weren't worried about losing some employees, we would make it simple and just make it effective right now. But we wanted to, there was a couple employees that were worried.
Gotcha.
Actually, so the consensus should be the 2 years instead of the 12 month. In the area that I work, it's hard to relocate. Plus, if I'm looking entertaining comment to work in the city of Springfield, and I'm entertaining buying a house, it takes almost 6 months to a month before the negotiations could go through back and forth. Because that's my area that I work at, that's, the clock is kicking, but I don't have no control as an employee because of the negotiations. That's why I wasn't doing the 2 years period, which I still find it that is still not feasible, but instead of the 12, I would wait in into the 24. And those are the barriers that I looked at. So, and then on the other part, I on a balance, if I own my house, like I own my house right now for 18 years, and I'm offered a job in some other town and city, why would I be going through the struggle of selling my house to just go work when I'm gonna lose more with the market rate, you know? So we have to weigh all that, and that's why I was waiting all that in terms. It takes almost 9 months if you are buying a house now. It's not like, you know, and it depends of barriers that is not the control of the employees, some other one. So that's why I was looking at the 2 year period. Mr. President.
I know, I forget to Councilor Howard, I know what to say in the chamber before, when I bought my house, it took me a year and a half. But I did it, I took my time, I did it the right, I hope I did it the right way. My wife's happy, but, and so I could tell with this hot market that we have, it's even more an obstacle. Councilor Allen, sir, you've been very patient. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm just a little confused. All we were trying to do when this came up on our agenda a month or so ago, 2 months ago, was just to extend the 1 year to 2 years, right?
Correct.
And it seems to have caused some complications with this sunset clause and stuff. What made that more, why wasn't it as simple as just, you got 2 years to move back in? That I went into that meeting thinking, well, this shouldn't be a hard thing to vote on. I was in favor of it, just in favor of what, why is that a problem?
Are you asking anyone specific?
Yeah, well, I like what Connie talked before about it.
I was watching it play out as well, and I think my sense is that there were a few counselors who voiced their opposition about relaxing the residency requirement. And so Counselor Delgado, probably sensing that it might not pass, and there was an urgency for it to do something by the council because of these couple of positions that we have out there that are crucial. You know,
Right.
made a compromise and said, let's sunset it so that the council doesn't lose full control of this and we can revisit it if we want. So that's where he got to the sunset language.
Okay,
So the council retains control on the issue.
and how does the sunset clause, just to make sure I'm understanding it, two approaches, how would the sunset clause work?
So
Compared to what you said before?
So when you say sunset, I mean, that's what it means, so that the language that you would be changing in theory today would go away. And it would revert back to the original language. So that's where Bill's confusion is that he can't give proper guidance to a candidate. That if this is going to sunset in February of 28.
Sunset mean end?
And sunset means it
Sunset.
evaporates as if it never happened, right? So that the 24 months goes back to 12 months. As if you never did any of this. And the only way you could continue to extend it to 2 years is by taking another affirmative vote on the floor. Otherwise, if you do nothing, it goes back to just a 1 year.
Mhm.
So as you get within 2 years of 2028, 2026, when an employee is asking for their residency, what the rules of residency are, Bill's gonna have to give this long convoluted explanation of, well, you really have 2 years, but if the council doesn't take any action by February of 28, it reverts to 1 year, and and in theory, you could be in violation of the residency requirement if you've been working for the city for more than 1 year at that date.
Mm.
You see how that plays
Yeah,
out?
And that's why
Kind
I
of.
wasn't.
I mean,
you know,
yeah, I can't get
So they've
every
been thinking
step
of-
yet, right?
The average
Mike?
person's gonna come in and say, I got 2 years to move in, but the rug can get pulled out from them in theory because the council, if the council doesn't take action, then the residency committee could in theory have a bunch of violations on their hand and have to address them right away.
But if I had a letter in my hand that said I have 2 years, regardless of the date,
That's why you won't have a
He's not
letter
gonna-
like that.
He's not gonna give it to
You will not get that letter.
so, well, let me just go backwards for a second. If I have an employee, the letter's not gonna say 2 years?
It'll say, you, in my mind right now, it's going to say you have 12 months to get in unless council doesn't take action in 2028, at which point you'll have more than 12 months to get in. You know, up to 24 months. We'll wordsmith it somehow, but we're gonna protect the city's interest and say, you know, you're gonna have at least 12 months. You might have more, but it depends on what happens.
So nobody's ever gonna get a letter that's gonna say 2 years.
They will if council takes action, if they.
Well, that's where I'm trying to figure this out, because if I'm trying to,
You remove the sunset language.
Yeah.
It's simply changing 12 months to 24 months and off you go.
Councilor Allen, you.
Mr. Chairman, I have some
Give
comments.
me a second there, Councilor Walsh, Councilor, Allen, you have a follow-up?
Processing, no,
It-
you
it
did a
is
good
another
job
probation.
describing it to me, but I'm still not there.
Sure, if I may, Councilor Walsh, followed by Director Ash.
Okay, so I'm a Springfield resident. I've been a Springfield resident for a long time. I moved here. I think Springfield's a great place to live. I mean, I don't like the feeling I'm getting that living in Springfield is some kind of negative experience. I think we should be promoting all the good things that go on in the city. You know, I like what Councilor Whitfield had to say about the training program. I mean, I don't know how many interns we have who then turn into employees, but why don't we look at the other side of it? I mean, how do we reward the people who are here, who live in the city, who are our employees? Are there any bonuses or benefits or remote learning, remote working from home, which is what the rest of the country's doing? I mean, why aren't we offering incentives instead of being, to me, it sounds like so punitive with having to move in. I mean, we're not forcing people to apply. And I would never get rid of residency.
Are you directing the question to anybody, Councilor Walsh, or just a general comment?
It was just a general comment because I'm not getting a really good, warm feeling about working and living in Springfield. And it's upsetting to me.
I understand. All right, thank you, Councilor Walsh. Dr. Ash, followed by Councilor Whitfield.
I would certainly agree with Councilor Walsh. I've never lived anywhere else but Springfield, probably never will. But as far as the sunset clause goes, I think Tim brings up a good point. It's going to be very, very confusing. So I go back to my original thought which was, you know, again, it was well-intentioned, but it's going to cause more problems than good. So I think the council at a point in time down the road should just reconsider the whole thing, look at it in totality and saying, is this worth it? Is it working well or is it not? That way you can make an amendment, you know, to either get rid of it totally or continue along the way you're going. But the sunset clause, I think, just adds a whole lot of confusion to it.
Thank you.
Let me just address Councilor Walsh's.
Sure, Solicitor Belafonte, followed by.
I'm sorry, but if there's a councilor, no, let.
Councilor Whitfield, followed by the Solicitor. Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Whitfield.
Join from my computer, so it's easier for me. But no, I would like to hear the response from the solicitor, and then I can because it'll be easier for me to follow
Sure.
what you're saying to.
Solicitor.
I respect Councilor Walsh's comments because I think I can't say they're misinterpreted because I think that's not the intention of what at least the department heads are saying. It's more that we're at a competitive disadvantage, that no other surrounding community requires residency. And so, one, we're at a competitive disadvantage in the marketplace, and two, we are struggling with getting people that are established in their home somewhere, have a family, and the challenge of people picking up and moving, that becomes a challenge. And usually for the more sophisticated positions that we have, there has to be some years of experience in the job. And so usually they're established somewhere, so to get them to move is the challenge based upon the market condition. And so I will tell you that I'm taking your words to heart, and I've been trying to do that. I've been trying to get an internship program up and running through Western New England University in the law department to try to get young law school students invested into the city, invested in the law department, and hopefully retain them when they come out into the marketplace. Unfortunately, we interviewed 3 and none of them wanted to come work here for whatever reason, but it's not just a challenge of other municipalities, it's the private sector and the challenge that are out there. For me in the law department, other law firms are begging for staff just like we are. And so whenever a candidate is looking, they're going to go where they have the less constriction on where they can go work. And so, and again, I'm trying to populate the office with more younger attorneys who are willing to move here maybe right after law school or after maybe a couple of years and willing to move into the city, or it doesn't really matter so much. But we're struggling in that area as well, again, just because we're at a competitive disadvantage.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Whitfield.
So I think, so I'm glad that Councilor Walsh said what she said, because I was feeling like, dang, it feels like a negative to move here, to work here. So it was really making me tense, and it was making me on the defense, because that's what I was hearing from all of the department heads. So I'm glad that you, Solicitor Bonacani, I'm glad that you talked about the competitiveness. So I'm not talking about specialties like law or dental or nurses, where you have to get those real qualifications, but like planning and departments that you need specialties, but there could be some type of internal program that people, even from other departments, maybe they want to get their feet wet in the planning department or conservation or something else, and they just don't know how to get there. And so now we have an internal pathway. We can work with local colleges. I don't even think it could be something that's created internally in the city with a consultant, that we create pathways for individuals to move to these departments. When we talk about law, I know that the DA's office got Future Lawyers of Springfield program that he works with Springfield students. Like Springfield students, they're wondering if they want to go from high school to law school, and some law school students, and they are from Springfield because there's Future Lawyers of Springfield. That's an opportunity for the City of Springfield Law Department to go talk to them, talk about the work we do, maybe get some interns in to try it out, and then maybe they want to convert to working for the City of Springfield. But we need to go out there and see who's really out there and do some type of recruitment internally within the City of Springfield, because I was really feeling tense about the conversation. And I'm just really glad that Councilor Walsh said it first. And because I'm like, dang, is moving to Springfield so bad? Look at all of us that come from Springfield. Like, I think we're a good crop. But I understand the competitiveness of when there's not that requirement. But I still agree with residency because of what I heard about what was happening in the past about the nepotism and cronyism and things like that. Like, we want to prevent that as much as possible too. But I know that we could probably find a happy medium somewhere. I'm going to be honest, I'm not getting the sunset clause at all. I've been trying to listen and catch up on it, but I'm not understanding it. So maybe I just need a special meeting by myself to understand it.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. So I'm going to do a quick time check now. The time is 2:31. I'm going to be close to an hour going at this. This is a very important issue, of course. I do want to start summarizing things, so let's start in a second, I'm gonna summarize this as I understand it, and maybe you can make sure that I'm making sense of what I said, so let's start in a second. But, anybody has any other questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, suggestions, ideas?
I would just add, to that final discussion, Mr. Chairman, is that I don't think there's any kind of opposition to residencies as far as I'm concerned. It's just allowing people who are trying to move into the city to have that extra time to do so. And once they're here, we're glad they're here. We want to live here. But it's just allowing that extra time for them to find a house and find housing that's suitable.
Understood. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to summarize the sunset clause, which I agree, it could be confusing to a new hire, to prospective employee. So what I'm gonna do, if I may, I'm going to summarize it as I understand it, and Solicitor and Bill, you guys jump in, okay? So Solicitor, if the council was to take action with this today, and we pass a sunset, which says that affect the person hired, and this is signed by the mayor tomorrow, which will go into effect when the mayor signs it, correct? So in this example, will be February 4th. A person hired will have 3 years to move into the city. And then we're looking back and we allowing those people that we hire in September 1st, 2023, they will also be brought into the fold, and they will give them 2 years to move into the city.
No.
So even I myself am confused.
Well, any new hire would be given from tomorrow, 2 years to move into the city.
It says 3 years here.
Oh, there's a 3-year
Oh, shit,
sunset.
sorry, my apologies, 2 years.
So
Yes,
2 years to move into the city. Any employee that was hired by the city, effective September 21st of 2023, will also have 2 years to move into the
2
city.
years, that's, okay.
So
2 years.
anybody, it's really anybody who was hired September 1, 2023, going forward, will have 2 years to move into the city.
2 years to move to the city. Okay, so I'm gonna say that again. So anybody, if the mayor, if we pass this today in this example, the mayor signs it tomorrow, goes into effect, the council law. Anybody, any new hire will have 2 years to move into the city. And anybody hired on or after September 1st, 2023 will also be brought into the fall, and they will have 2 years to move into the city. And then this will sunset in February 4th of 2028. Or 2028, and the council will have to either A, take action to whatever the council at the time sees fit, or it will revert back to 12 months.
Correct.
Now, the problem that Mahoney, which I think is a very good valid point, what do you tell a new hire? In particular, as it gets closer to that sunset clause.
Anybody hired after February 4th of 2026 is gonna have to be noticed that there's a sunset clause that's coming their way. And depending on the date of hire, they may not have 24 months. They may only have, some of them may only have 12 months if they were hired after February 4th of 27.
Okay.
And we'd have to include that in our letters.
So I know myself, as I'm sitting here and thinking not only, of course, primarily as a counselor, but if I was that new hire, I would have some kind of feelings about that. Like you were talking about getting the rug pulled under me, particularly if I'm gonna buy a house in Springfield. It would not, it would be kind of like, it will give me a little pause personally. So with that being said, what I would like to do is, before I finish with the counselors, I want to ask the room, am I getting the feeling, and correct me if I'm mistaken, I think Councilor Walsh hinted to this before. Are you guys suggesting that we don't do the clause sunset at all, just do the 2 years? Or should we keep the sunset? What's the suggestion of you, ladies and gentlemen, who are the professionals? And Chris, you guys are the department heads, not you. So I always personally, say, I don't believe.
I'll be the bold one to go first. Talk. I think you'll find that it's really not going to, the sunset provision really isn't going to change anything about the hiring practices in the city. but to complicate them and potentially open us up to litigation. And when it comes to employment matters, it's always better to be very plain and clear so the employee understands the rules. And so I think from those who are running the departments, it's much better to have a very clean and simple rule than a complicated.
Thank you, so much. Chris. you
No,
have
that's
the floor.
exactly what Steve said. I agree with that. There should be no sunset clause, and if at a point in the future, the city council would rescind it, that way, when we do have letters, it would say 2 years. And then if the city council were to rescind it in the future, then that next letter that will be done would say 1 year. And it would be rule, it would be a law, and it would be very, very, I hate residency. But if it's gonna go in this direction, I think that's the way that it has to go.
Thank you, Chris. Director Ash.
I would go back to my original comment, Mr. Chairman, that sunset clause is potentially very confusing. And that the council, as a body, should look at this in totality in a couple of years and see if it's working, take action either way.
Thank you. Director Mahoney.
I mean, the council always has the option of acting on it at any point, so I don't know that the sunset clause is going to really, it doesn't provide any additional power to the council, because you already have that. You already have that authority to come back and revisit the ordinance if you guys feel that you need to do it. And from our standpoint in human resources, we do want to be as clear as we can with our candidates, and we want to be able to, attract them to work for this city, because it is a great city. It's a great city, and we want to bring people in to help us with our mission.
Ms. Cromwell, is there anything you want to say from the rest of this commission? No. Okay. All right, thank you, guys. So I'm gonna open it up briefly to the councilors, and then I'm gonna end up with the subcommittee members. Any thoughts on the councilors, particularly the sunset clause? Councilor Perez.
That was one of the concerns that I had at the last meeting, because if I'm sitting and I'm gonna be hiring a two, expecting for 2 years to find a house. So I put myself as an employee, not as a city council, and then I come back and I was told, listen, after I went, you have only 1 year. I mean, we have to look at the person as a whole, as an employee, and what he inquired, as it is, we asking residency in 2 years, but then I'm gonna go see my superior and you're gonna say, guess what? No, you got 1 year. So, I was looking at that. I will, if we change the 2 years, is clear cut of the expectation to the employee as well. Rather than say, well, you might have 2, but I might have 1. I mean, that's what you're gonna be saying to your employees, and we have to look at that. So I'm inclining to 24, and like you say, we will revisit back at any point in time, but it's clear to the people that you are hiring.
So you're saying that we should keep the sunset?
No, we should not keep the sunset.
No sunset.
So,
Because
Oh, I
what
see.
I
Okay.
just said. So if I'm looking for a house within those 2 years, and then my supervisor says, Maria, we have to have a meeting.
You have 1 year left.
You got 1
Right.
year, and I had taken 9 months to look for a house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at it from that aspect.
if there becomes an appetite to eliminate the sunset clause, what Councilor Perez is talking about, my suggestion would be is that there needs to be a motion on the floor to delete section 3 of the draft
Thank you, Susan.
in its entirety.
Do any of the councilors online, Councilor Whitfield or Councilor Walsh, be commenting on, but on the sunset, I'm looking feedback on the sunset.
I would just,
Councilor.
Right,
Walsh.
so
I
without
like-
that, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Councilor Walsh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, are you seated?
I think I'm a member of this committee.
Yes, you are.
I like hearing what the department heads have had to say. But I agree with the solicitor. We should delete, and with Maria, we should delete section 3 of the of the draft, just go with extending residence, the time period to move in for 2 years and not create confusion or litigation.
Gotcha, good. Councilor Whitfield, followed by Councilor Allen.
Yeah, I didn't understand it, so I can't support anything I don't understand,
Fair
so
enough.
make it easy for me.
Just tell everybody to
Fair
move
enough.
in.
I didn't understand the 1 year, 2 year rule.
Councilor Allen?
Yeah, thank you. Where did the sunset clause come from? The idea, was that the Councilor Stavros?
Councilor Legatos?
I'm sorry, Delgado.
I'm better
So
looking.
that came from there, okay. Yeah, I think I'm with everybody, let's do without that.
All right, so thank you. So it seems to me, that it appears to me that we have reached a consensus that keeping the amendment of section 3 for the sunset will cause exposure to the city. It will, potentially open the city to litigation. It will be a difficulty for hiring new employees. And by getting rid of the sunset clause, it will be just crystal clear and transparent. It will also, these amendments altogether will allow the department heads to keep right now, the three employees that are coming with the deadline. But let's not forget that the clock keeps ticking and there will be more employees against the clock as we move forward. So with that being said, Councilor Walsh and Councilor Allen, myself are the 3 members of the subcommittee. This will be up for February 12th. It's my understanding, the next regular meeting.
Number 10.
Is it the 10th? Okay, February 10th. Do either one of you is interested in making a motion to suggest to the wise, humble body of the Springfield City Council to delete in its entirety section 3 of the proposed amendment?
So,
You want to make that motion, Cater?
yes, absolutely. I make a motion to delete section 3 of the draft and eliminate the sunset clause.
Very well.
Second.
Second that, very well. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Very well, it's unanimous, so we will recommend to the Springfield City Council body for February 10th, the deletion of section 3 of the proposed amendment, and we will hash it out then.
Just a quick question, Counselor, did you guys pass step 1?
We did,
Okay, so you can do 2 and 3 on Monday night?
that is correct, if that is the will of the council, which by the way, I will be making that suggestion, Chris.
Okay.
Because I am pretty cognizant of one, and most importantly, people's job, livelihood. And 2, again, it's very simple, it sounds simple, but you need a guy, you need a guy. I'm not the department head, you are. So who am I to get in the way of that? So any other comments before we adjourn? Any thoughts, ideas, suggestions, compliments, threats, nothing? Nothing? All right, with that being said, meeting is adjourned, 2:44. Thank you, everybody, and God bless. Have a good day.